deterrent. When Susan called me, how's that? A little further down? All right, I'll get down in a crouch here. All right. When Susan called me and said that when my name was brought up, there was almost unanimous agreement in asking if I would be interested, I told her I didn't realize I had so many enemies at Horizon House. But as I thought about it and discussed it with Helen, I realized I should put my money where my mouth is. I strongly believe in the resident council. I believe that the resident council is the soul and spirit and heart of what makes this a unique retirement community. I also believe we have another duty, and that is to be Horizon's House conscience. And by conscience, I mean that we work to ensure open communication with the administration and board of trustees and are involved as much as we possibly can be with clear communication. And I hope that I can participate in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paul, for taking this on. We really will enjoy working with you again. Now we'll have the report of our secretary, minutes of the last meeting.
Let me start by clarifying one thing. It wasn't almost unanimous. It was Paul was the unanimous choice of the nominating committee. He's too modest by half. The minutes of the last meeting have been circulated to the members of the council, and I now move that they be approved. Do I have a second?
So will all council members who agree say aye? Aye. Motion passed.
And now, in the absence of Diane Tinker, our treasurer, who couldn't be here, it probably shows on the screen, but at any rate, we're just going great guns on the financial side. Our April income was over 10,000. Our April expenses were just a little over 5,500, and leaving a profit of a little over 5,000. So I think we're good. Next up, we're going to have a report from Jennifer Stucker, co-director of the Monday Market.
Good morning. The market thanks you, Horizon House residents and employees, for your support of the market with both donations and with purchases. It has been a marvelous May so far. For the first three Mondays of this month, the total deposits amount to $7,085. Sales tax account for $6,058 of that. And then employee charges for this time period equal $2,491. So you can see that the market has been doing quite well. Clearly, the Monday market benefits from and is a benefit to the Horizon House community. Volunteers provide hours of effort that make it all work. Your careful assessment of which articles are fitting for the market versus goodwill helps us. So please donate only those items that you would gladly purchase. So next we hear from the archivist, Marian Miara.
So I'm here today to report on the status of the Residence Council archives. Before the pandemic began, George Counts asked me to take on organizing the Residence Council archives. And last summer, Lila Dole and Diane Tinker worked out a plan with Lynn Demerit to share the computer room space on the B2 level. So today the Residence Council archives are located in a computer room in 2 file cabinets. And do we have that photo? That Lila got purchased for the archives by a GEM grant. So I did the filing in this way. File cabinet number 1, or the one on the left, is currently filled with files from the beginning in 1961 through 2011, when the 50th anniversary brochure was produced. File cabinet number 2, the one on the right, contained files from 2012 to today. And there's room in this cabinet for files that may be sitting in committee chairs' apartments because we were quarantined before year-end 2020. So Lila Doyle and I will be meeting, and we will set up a plan as to when and how we will receive these records from committees. So just look for further directions from us. Then the second slide, I have samples of some of the files from the file cabinets. There's a second file. No, I'm sorry. Okay. Let me tell you about them though. One of the things that I brought out was what Elizabeth mentioned, the minutes of the first meeting of the Horizon House Council in 1962. I also had another brochure about the men of Horizon House. They printed up a nice brochure listing all of the men, all of their positions in business, and all of the schools that they attended. So then we had a think tank at Horizon House. Just think of that. I think it lasted just for 3 years, and they did 3 reports. One of them is a report called Our Planet in Peril, and that was produced in May 2008. Then since I was doing this while the coronavirus is going on, I decided that I thought future residents would like to know about how we went through the pandemic. So I put a binder together, a red and white binder, and I included a preface by Peter Elbow. Those of you on the Science Committee, we received an email from Peter. He did some creative writing about what we're going through. And I also included the names of our health committee, and then every coronavirus communication that we've been receiving. And it's a 2-inch binder that's packed full of these communications. And we're still receiving them, so I may have to start another binder because this binder is just packed full. So now the next phase, we're going to have a small archival committee appointed by the Residence Council president. And this committee's work will include setting up procedures for maintaining and determining how the archives will be stored, whether we're going to scan or digitize for computer storage, and then how the archives will be used. So you'll have further reports on that. And now we have Deanna. Oh, Deanna Nelson. I'm sorry.
I'm up here to introduce our first spotlight. Today our first spotlight will be the Communications Committee. The committee serves as liaison between the residents and Horizon House Communications Department. Their mission is to ensure that all communications are accurate, timely, and accessible to all residents. The co-chairs, Sam Sperry and Karen Lane, are here to tell you how they tackle this really important and very challenging task. Karen and Sam?
Good morning, everybody. President Hoover, members of the Residents Council, and our fellow Horizon House residents. My co-chair, Karen Lane, and I are happy to be here this morning to discuss with you the responsibilities and activities of the Communications Committee. Karen?
We are a working committee of about 20 people. We work in small teams on various aspects of the communications internally go on here at Horizon House.
Our job is to ensure that all communications affecting Horizon House residents are, as Deanna just mentioned, accurate, complete, timely, and accessible to all, especially including residents in assisted living. Now, our focus is on internal communications, not external communications such as the institutional website or the logo. Slide number
three. Slide number 3. So we work, as Deanna said, in collaboration with the communications manager, Joan Hudson, on both electronic and paper communication platforms that affect all of us. The directory, elevator signs, HH Connect, the mailroom, and occasional special projects. Sam, you want to tell us about one?
Right. Currently, we're working on a project to make sure that all prices charged for services available to residents are published in advance so they know upfront what costs for those services will be.
We also collaborate with other committees that use the very same platforms that we do, and we're finding that many committees that are interested in working with us because we have common interests in they have content they want to communicate. We have some know-how about the platforms, and so that's becoming an important part of what we do. Sam?
That's right, Karen. At the invitation of the Arts Committee and the Dining and Welcoming Committees, we've collaborated on matters of mutual interest. For example, with the Arts Committee, we discussed the possibility of a new protocol for making changes to information on HH Connect. So every committee that has, in effect, real estate on HH Connect might be able to use a standard procedure that has worked very well for the Arts Committee and could be used by other committees.
It's really a pleasure for us to be able to tell you a little bit about what we do. And the thing that I want everybody to understand is that we can't do this without all of you. We have many, many residents who contribute to our robust programs and activities, and we want to thank you for your work. And then you make sure that we all receive information about what you're doing. And then Joan Hudson and her staff help us to get that communication out to everybody, be it on paper or electronic devices. In short, we could not do our job without all of you, and we thank you very much for your contributions and your work. The next person up is Nancy Cope, another Spotlight presenter.
All I can say is a lot of you play games. However, I was appointed the coordinator of games is a bit of a joke, but I'm enjoying finding out about these games. And Anne-Marie is going to describe American Mahjong here. But Paul Niebank still inspires me. I wrote a poem. Here we go. I say a line, Anne-Marie says a line, and you may say it with Anne-Marie. Are you ready? Play, play, play. Play, play, play. You might just win a game.
You might just win a game.
Then look at the score
Then look at the score
and play some more.
and play some more.
You'll never be the same.
You'll never be the same.
And Anne Marie, thanks for being here today. This has always looked mysterious. I've peeked in the mahjong room when they're playing, and you've got to admit those tiles are absolutely beautiful, but they are mysterious. So I hope we learn what that's about.
You took one of the papers.
Did I take one of the papers? I think these are both mine.
Are they? Oh, I thought there was one that said.
Oh, is there
the
one?
next person.
Oh, okay. Carol Roach, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm supposed to talk about mahjong. So let me tell you, I was first introduced to mahjong about, I'd say, maybe 50 or 55 years ago when my mother-in-law came home from Taiwan with a set. And she taught me and my couple of sisters-in-law how to play. And I thought that was wonderful. However, when I went home, there was nobody to play mahjong with, nobody in my neighborhood. Every time I moved, there was never anybody to play mahjong. And then I came to Horizon House and found mahjong. Now, I didn't realize at the time that there were actually two mahjong groups. I thought there was just one, so I went to that one and was hooked. It's a bit complicated, some folks say. I don't think it really is. It's not too different from playing cards. A lot of people that play bridge can understand that. You have to make certain melds and things in order to win. But the nice thing about mahjong is you don't need to worry about a partner. It's just you. If you make a mistake, you don't have to tell anybody. You can just keep it all in here. So let me tell you a little bit. I didn't know much about mahjong. And then Nancy asked me to do this. So I had to do a little bit of research. There seemed to be two opposing ideas of when mahjong actually started. One was that it began in 1300s in China. The other was that it began in the 1900s, probably in China. I'm going to go with the 1300 one because that makes more sense to me. So let's just assume that this game started somewhere in China in the 1300s, and they began by using paper cards. Well, paper tears, and at that time, paper wasn't as easy to deal with as it is now. You can just go get another pack of cards. There you couldn't. So they needed to do something a little more substantial. And that was when they decided on tiles. And they began with bamboo tiles, but they needed to decorate them because otherwise, how would you know what you were playing with? So they pasted or somehow attached little bone chips to the top of the tie, the bamboo, and voila, there were our mahjong tiles. So that is what we play with to this day. Now, as it began, there were no such thing as rule books. So as this game spread throughout this huge country of China, the rules changed a little bit with every group that played. They made it their own. So there are many different ways to play mahjong. So you need to decide on which one you're going to play. And so let's go back to coming to the United States. Like, going through China, it also extended into Europe. And I have the feeling that that's when they made the discovery in the 18 and 1900s that mahjong was a game because it was going into Europe and into the United States. So at that time, there were cities that were filled with groups of people that were all kind of crammed together. Think in terms of, well, I normally think of New York, where immigrants came in and they lived in neighborhoods. There were the Asian people in one neighborhood. There were the Irish people in another. There were the Chinese in another. There were, well, it goes on and on. But when the First World War broke out, and they all started to play mahjong because the Chinese group or the Asian group had been playing it. So it began to spread to other groups. Well, after the First World War, the cities just got too crowded. So these people began to move away from the cities. And in so doing, they missed their friends. And this was particularly true of the Jewish women who played mahjong very regularly in their neighborhoods with their friends. So when they moved out of the cities, they tried to get together. And one of the things they did to do that was to form the National Mahjong League. And when they did that, they made these little cards, and I have them have a whole little display. Mary Mullen helped me set up this display of the tiles and the cards, so you can look at it a little more carefully. But these cards tell you exactly how you make up your meld. If your meld doesn't match this meld, it's not a mahjong. So this is gospel with our American mahjong group here. And just like there are different kinds of mahjong around the world, different kinds of groups, there's another mahjong group here. They play Asian mahjong. Don't ask me anything about it because I know nothing about it. You will have to ask one of them. But I understand first of all, they don't have a card, so they're a little more loose in their interpretation, I guess. It's pretty much played like rummy, where you just make up melds. Now, the tiles, there are 3 suits. In our cards, we have 4. But in mahjong, we have 3 suits. And there are also jokers, which would play the part of an ace. There are flowers and dragons and winds, which would loosely be the jokers, the kings, and the queens. And those are how the melds are made up. Now, the next question that people often ask is, where does that name come from and what does it mean? Well, in Chinese, I guess, and I'm not sure about this, but the thing was that when you shuffle the cards, because unlike cards, you can't shuffle them just, doing whatever you do with cards to mix them up. You can't do that with tiles. So you spread them on the table upside down and you just mix them. Well, when you mix them, they make a clicking sound. And back in the day, they thought that clicking sound rather sounded like sparrows. So they named it sparrows in Chinese. Now, that is very loosely translated. So, but that's what they say. Now, let's see. What have I left out? The cards, there is a charge for these. They're pretty solid. So every year we get a new card. And this card costs $9. But it costs a lot to make them. It costs a lot to mail them and to produce them. But there probably are some funds left over. Well, these ladies do not want to keep a bank account with all these funds. So any leftover funds are given to charity. And the ones that decide on the charity are those that buy them. So for instance, the group from Horizon House, which happens to be in our case, Jeanette Kallenberg, who orders these for us every year, she, for us, determines what charity we would like our excess money to go. So they put all those charities together and they distribute the spare funds. So we're not unhappy with paying that $10. And by the way, we usually get a GEM grant or attempt to get a GEM grant for those. So again, thank you, Horizon House, for letting us do this. Now, Our group number is about 12, but it's so often the case with folks at Horizon House. Often people are on cruises or they're at their other home on one of the islands or in Alaska, whatever. So we tend to have 1 or 2 tables going with our mahjong. Every Sunday, we meet from 2 to 4. We'd love to have some more members, or we'd love to have you just stop by and see how we play. We meet downstairs in B1 game room, and I have set up a set over there. It looks like they've been rearranged a little bit, but there is a mahjong set over there with all of the things set out so you can take a look at it after the meeting. I will go over there and be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And at that point, I'm pretty much finished. And the next one up is Carol Roach, who's the Vice President for Administration.
Today, we continue the Residents' Council tradition of inviting questions from residents who are curious or in need of an answer about something, anything really, related to Horizon House. For example, someone might ask, who should I talk to about the possibility of introducing non-stinging mason bees to pollinate the C&D level garden terraces? It's my job to get answers to questions like that and report back at the following month's meeting. Today, like every Residents' Council meeting day, I'll be sitting by the fireplace, might take me a few minutes to get it cleared out today, by the fireplace here for at least 30 minutes after the meeting. So bring your burning questions to the fireplace. And here are the answers for 2 questions from last month. Question 1, I have relatives coming to visit and staying at Horizon House. If they are eating in the terrace dining room or the bistro without me, can they pay with a credit card? Also, what about tips for them? Answer from Christine Seymour, Horizon House Chief Financial Officer. Yes, your guests may pay for their food with a credit card. Our employees may not accept tips under any circumstances, however, so your guests could, if they want, show appreciation by leaving a check or cash with you to contribute to the Employee Recognition Fund in the fall. Question number 2. A resident asks, I am thinking about selling my car because I don't use it very much, but I still would like to have occasional access to wheels. If several residents wanted to jointly own a car and garage it at Horizon House, would that cause an unacceptable problem to staff or to billing here? There are 3 answers. The first is from Brian Holtz, Horizon House Director of Operations. He says, having 2 or more residents own 1 car would cause no problem as long as the valets in the garage were notified of the arrangement before it began. Horizon House could also work out proportional billing for the joint owners. Of course, the owners themselves would have to work out scheduling, insurance, licensing, fuel, and maintenance, of course. Second answer from Michael Andres, the Horizon House garage supervisor. If several residents jointly owned a car and garaged it with us, it should cause no problem. Go for it. Finally, here's an addendum from the chair of the Horizon House Environment Committee. Congratulations on considering an alternative to a privately owned vehicle. Our committee will explore the possibility of having a zip car located permanently very near Horizon House. Zipcar is a membership car sharing company. For trips that are longer in time or in miles, Zipcars are cheaper and more efficient than Uber or Lyft. Watch for our committee's conclusions after our Zipcar investigation. They will be listed in the Greenovator column of the alert. That's all for today. Please bring your burning questions to the fireplace today after the meeting. And now back to Council President Elizabeth Hoover.
Sounds as if we have a question. Do we have a question? Is there a question at all about anything that was said here today? Yes, Olga?
But an observation, there are a lot of new staff members. It would be helpful if the council could bring some of the staff members, not to necessarily talk a great deal, but like today with communications. I don't know who the new person is there. I mean, she's been there for several months, but I think a lot of us don't know these new staff people.
And I think you're right, we don't, but we do have the opportunity to meet them every month at the Fireside Chat. Not all of them every month, but they're always introduced, the new people, at the Fireside Chat. Do you remember that, Olga? Okay. But maybe that's a suggestion for our vice president. Maybe we should invite a couple to each meeting to say hi. That would be okay. Thank you. I just want to remind in closing one thing. Or did I see a hand raised? Okay.
Excuse me, I had something I forgot to announce, that in addition to the regular questions at the fireplace after the meeting, we'd like Doris Ray of the Dining Committee would like to invite anyone who has questions for her, for the Dining Committee, to please also come close to the fireplace. There will be two separate things going on then. So there will be two kinds of questions. Dining services.
Stand up, Doris. Let them see who you are. Okay. Just a reminder, I always want to remind us to be courteous to our employees, make suggestions, limit our criticisms, and let's keep the joy in our environment as much as we can produce it. Okay? If there are no further questions or comments, I pronounce the meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Yeah.